Hello, hello, hello. Ambrose Blowfield here from the Sales Mastery Company, and it's my privilege to share with you a short, sharp training session about some mindset secrets from the greats of industry, particularly in the very, very global competitive industry around technology and software and such things. And so today I want to share with you some insights into lessons you can apply into your business, or better still, into your sales team, from Elon Musk, from Steve Jobs, and from Bill Gates. So hopefully you've already accessed us via social media, or you've sent us an email to admin@salesmasterycompany.com. And hopefully in front of you is a workbook looking like the one I've got right now, Mindset Secrets from the Greats. Again, at a practical level, I'll start with page 3. I simply want to give you some motivation and hopefully some inspiration, and better still, some practical techniques that you can directly apply from these dominant players in their given sectors, possibly from a completely different era to one another, or even a different era to yourself, and actually start to apply them to either your mindset, or if you're a sales manager, like many of the people attending these sessions, to apply it to your team. If you're a business owner, just like a sales manager, this is about you learning it in order to instill it into everybody else. And if you are a salesperson watching this, congratulations for stepping up. It's awesome that you're taking leadership within yourself, but please share these lessons across your team. So it's about us creating positive habits. As we know, it's our mindset that kind of gets us started, and then it's our habits that we do, the actions that we take that produces the results. A lot of times when we're coaching teams around the world and they say, well, do I need to improve my processes? I'm sorry to say that's very rarely going to save your business or change your business. You've got to change your mindset, then you've got to change your actions, and then you've got to change your results. And when you do that and you're trying to scale, yes, you probably need some software or some processes to follow so you can start to scale and measure your success of that. But typically it's mindset, then actions, then results. Processes support those things, but they don't replace those things. So the thing to remember is that Bill Gates was an absolute dropout, like a lot of people in the global billionaire technology space seem to have been, whether it's from MIT or from Harvard. But again, seen as a global thought leader in many different areas. But let's just focus around what his core duties have been in growing Microsoft, creating a really good Windows platform. And in the early days, the Bing search engine platform that's quite popular that Google obviously usurped. Now, in the world we live in right now, with ChatGPT now being plugged into the tail end or the back end of Bing.com, who knows, Bing might start to play or at least go past Yahoo as being the number 2 search engine in the world. Obviously, Google's got an advantage because people talk about Googling it, but who knows, they might change that methodology and language into being, let's Bing it, who knows. Again, first person to be called a $100 billion man. Again, whether that impresses you or not is irrelevant to me. It's not something that I really care about. I think you've got to have a big impact on the world in other ways. But the reality here is there are clearly some secrets, there are some lessons and some methodologies. So the first thing to think about is the competitive nature. If you're working in sales, if you're leading a sales team, if you're working in marketing, or you're leading a business, I'm sorry to say, but competition is part of a week-to-week, day-to-day situation. In the case of those search engines I talked about, the difference of those who are almost great and truly great is phenomenally different. In the world of technology, if you have a smartphone or a smart device or a computer or software system, if it's adopted by the market en masse, you become a billionaire. And if it isn't, you can't. There's a real clear-cut focus in technology, which is partly why I picked out Jobs and Gates and Musk today, because it's really extreme. Success and failure in those sectors is extreme. But we do need to get comfortable with competition. One of the big frustrations, I think, a lot of parents of similar age to my age, when we look at children coming through schools and universities right now, is that people keep getting certificates for participation. But in business, you don't get that. And in sales, you don't get that. If you keep being the second best pitcher on a particular presentation or project, or to win a particular client, and you're forever second, you'll be bankrupt by the end of the year. So you've got to learn to embrace competition as Bill Gates did. Obviously for those guys, they competed internally, and that really created fitness. I know that's something that Steve Jobs was alluded to do. I'm not saying Steve Jobs' particular language is always positive, because a lot of the insights and documentaries on him say he was a very harsh communicator. But he also, just like Elon Musk, embraced the competition. Elon Musk has got to compete with NASA, for example. That's quite a challenge for SpaceX. Likewise, try to follow your passion, or try to find your passion. Now, I'm not a Techno geek, is self-confessed techno geek, as a lot of the three guys I've talked about in interviews have said, described themselves as. I'm not Mr. Software and I'm not Mr. Technology, but I'm passionate about people. So what do I spend my life doing for the last 2 decades is coaching and developing people so they have a better career and they have a better life. That's my passion. I happen to be extra motivated to help small to medium family businesses who work in ethical sectors, meaning I am not passionate helping large corporates as much, not to say I don't want to work with them, but not as passionate. So I wouldn't want that to be the totalitarian view of my whole customer base. Happy to do some, but I wouldn't want it to be all of them. Likewise, I'm not driven to help people in gambling and tobacco sectors or mass brewing sectors because it just isn't my passion. So for you, you've got to take some time to find your passion in what you do, whether that's the colleagues you work with, the differences you make to your customers. I love it when customers say, thanks to the extra money we made from you, I could recruit 5 new staff members, because I think, well, that's 5 families being fed. Or I could send my kids through university, which I couldn't do before, because that could be life-changing for their people who follow them in terms of their succession plan in their family. Either way, find a passion for the people you work with, for the people you work for the product that you've got, the sector you're in, or for the results you produce. Finding your passion is important to drive your motivation ongoing. That develops intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is a scientific word for internal drive and motivation. And it's way more powerful than extrinsic or external motivation. And then number 3, for the 3 of them, and I'm not saying you have to mimic this, but again, to push passion a little bit further, all 3 of them were obsessed with being the best they could be in what they were doing. And in Bill Gates' case, it was to have an amazing usable software platform that allowed people to interact with multiple softwares, and obviously things like Word and Excel and PowerPoint that flowed on from that. And again, from his perspective, his contribution and impact on the world was dramatic. He competed against the big IBMs of the world. Ironically, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs also both competed against IBM to some degree, and obviously within each other as well. But the reality here is around this. Find a degree that drives you. Develop that internal drive beyond passion into a degree of obsession to be the best version of yourself you can be. I'm not asking you to be Steve Jobs. I'm not asking you to be Bill Gates. I'm not asking you to be Elon Musk. I'm requesting that you spend some time going, when I look back on my career at 80 years old, what would I like to be remembered for? What difference should I have made? Now, that's in a career setting, because obviously we're on a career platform and sharing this with you right now. However, the same goes for your personal life as well. My wife just got asked, could she fly across the South Pacific and help people in the developing nations there? And she's incredibly driven to give back in that way. So I hopefully grow the business in a way that supports that, because that's her difference. That's her calling, if you like. So for you, find a way to be obsessed with your job, with your duties, with your team, with your products, with your solutions, or possibly with other ways you can help other people. Now, Steve Jobs has obviously been written about for many, many years. Obviously, an amazing inventor of things that technologically tend to work and technologically look beautiful as well, right down to the packaging. But the thing that's really interesting, very similar across all 3, is the number of knockbacks that no people understand. Again, Steve Jobs was sacked from his own board. Can you imagine, ego-wise, what that felt like for somebody passionate and obsessed like he was? And these 3 traits are ones that all 3 of them have got in common. But at the same time, can you imagine the resilience he had to have to come back, to take over and take the lead again? Had he not gone and done that and overcome that circumstance, or the kick in the teeth and the kick in the heart, he would never have developed the iPad and the iPod and obviously the iPhone. So the reality here is you are going to, like we talked about embracing competition, you're going to have to get used to the idea of being kicked in the teeth, kicked in the heart some of the times, kicked to the curb by some clients. It's not right. It's not fair. But then who told you that life was going to be right and fair all the time? Hopefully nobody. And if they did, I'm sorry, they did you a disservice. Life is tough. Business is tough. I remember for me studying an international business degree in the UK and France being told only 20% of businesses survive 5 years. That means 80% fail. That's a tough thing. Then I moved to Australasia, started our business nearly 2 decades ago, and found out it was less than 10% of businesses in Australia and New Zealand tend to see out the first 5 years. It only got tougher. Now we're 2 decades in, so I'd like to think we did okay. But the reality here is you're going to have to develop your resilience. We have shared another workbook, another short training topic on resilience, so feel free to look that up. The other comment around that is that he was managing to leave a global billion-dollar company, one of the richest companies on the planet outside of the oil sector in particular, and managed to do that while also struggling with his own mental health and his own physical health as well. Now, I'm not suggesting you need to become a hero by contracting cancer and overcoming the obstacles. I'm just saying life's a lot tougher than people give it credit for, and people need to develop resilience as part of that, especially in sales. Elon Musk is a workaholic, self-confessed workaholic. And again, I don't want to comment about him taking over Twitter and the impact on free speech that may or may not have, but I would like to comment about he's taken on multi-trillion-dollar sectors. So in the age of Steve Jobs and the age of Bill Gates, when we talked about billionaires, and obviously in Bill Gates' case, the $100 billion man alongside his wife, but the reality now is we're talking about trillionaires and moving to that next level. So to be able to do that, there's going to be a whole bunch of different factors that Elon Musk has to juggle, not simply his work-life balance being an issue and how many hours a day, allegedly 16 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week is what he works. But the reality here is, from his perspective, is he's got to have that resilient mindset physiologically as well to cope with the pressure. Look, whether you're succeeding in business, succeeding in sales, or whether you're not, the chances are you're embracing pressure. You know, you might be able to go to work every single day for 6 months, maybe even 12 months, get away with performing at an average level. But eventually you will get one big pressure in the form of where you boot out the door at some point. So you've got to be mindful around these factors. Now, again, if you're running a sales team or you're running a business, I really want you to think about, what can you do from today's topic to share it with the team members? I'm not asking you to be these people. I'm asking you to embrace what they've got. You need to be competitive. You need to be resilient. You need to accept failure as part of the journey. You need to try to get the team on board. You need to develop that mindset that gets us obsessed and gets us passion. You need to find a way to have all intrinsic motivation. Too often I see business owners who are amazingly motivated and passionate and obsessed about their business, but when I interview and spend time with their team members, they don't share any of that passion. It's just a job. And unfortunately, if every member of your team thinks it's just a job, you'll probably be in the 80 or 90% of businesses that don't survive. I'm sorry, but of course it is businesses with the right people, with the right mindset, the right actions, who produce the right results to be profitable moving forward. So I'd love to challenge you to pick 2 or 3 things from today's topic to apply to yourself, and then apply 2 or 3 things across your team, whether you're the senior member of the team or the most junior member of the team. Please share these lessons. And then finally, if you're a business owner or a sales manager, if you are keen to accelerate your sales success, on the back page of your workbook, there's a link for you to book in for a free scale-up call. That's a 15-minute phone call with one of our team members and founders who can actually understand where you are now, where you're trying to go, to start pointing in the right direction. You may qualify for a one-on-one Zoom with myself, which is a sales strategy session for free. Again, we can get you up and running. And likewise, if you have any questions, or if there's anything else you'd like us to help you with, or if you simply want to share successes you've got from this free training and from other things that we've shared, we love to hear feedback from people right around the world, as our clients are in 6 continents these days. So feel free to send an email through to admin@salesmasterycompany.com. Finally, the last thing to say is knowledge is all good and well, but applied knowledge is true power. So please take a moment now before you go on and check your emails or check your phone or subscribe to your social media. Take time to think about what can you apply for yourself off today's training, and what could you apply across your team. Take care. And as always, I've been Ambrose Blowfield with the Sales Mastery Company. Be sure to take action.